coming up on the October 17th edition of Sports Extra. The Who? Carolina football stormed down to Miami to take on the U for a critical coastal clash.
We got our first look at the basketball team via the traditional dancing and open scrimmage at Late Night with Roy.
And men's soccer took it to the pitch against those pitchfork wielding rivals in a Tobacco Road showdown. All that and so much more. Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Media and Journalism, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics. This is Sports Extra.
A week after things looked bleak for Carolina football in the Coastal Division, the Heels are back in the thick of it. And although they lost a huge part of the team in the process, slow down. We'll get to that in a second. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Caleb Waters.
And I'm Peyton Walker. It was yet another wild weekend full of important ACC action for teams across campus. Maybe none more important than the game in Miami this Saturday. After being smacked around by an actual hurricane last week, Carolina looked for redemption against the 16th ranked Miami Hurricanes. We'll start with Carolina up by 10. Mitch Trubisky rolls out and rifles the ball to Ryan Switzer in the end zone. Touchdown, classic combo right there. Trubisky and Switzer go together like peanut butter and jelly. And Carolina was up early, but Miami battled back to have a chance to tie, but Malik Carney gets around the ball and nails Brad Kaya. Fumble! Jeremiah Clark eventually scoops it up for the Heels, and then with a chance to ice the game, Trubisky hands it off to Elijah Hood, and Hood delivers the truck stick and keeps bumbling, and stumbling to get that first down. Get that man some Skittles because he just went beast mode. Carolina weathers the storm and gets its third ACC win of the year, 20-13. Well, we had a great win down in Miami this past weekend, but I think we're still a little stunned from that Virginia Tech loss a few weeks back. But looks like it's going to be a roller coaster season for the Heels.
Well, on that note, we bring in roller coaster expert and football analyst Lindsey Sparrow. Lindsey, what's up?
Well, I guess defensive coordinator Gene Chizik was watching the show last week when we talked about the threat of the Hurricanes' offensive standouts because North Carolina defense stepped up and shut them down. Carolina held Miami to 4 of 15 on third down conversions and, more importantly, came out of halftime and forced 3 and outs on the Hurricanes' first 2 offensive possessions. These stops early in the second half were key for the Heels because, like they saw against Florida State and Pittsburgh, a lot can change in the last 30 minutes. Before we dive into UNC's much improved run defense, let's look at the pass coverage. Linebackers like Case and Collins used speed to take out a seemingly wide open Mark Walton for this third down tackle. Even lost a shoe on that one. And linebacker Aiden Bonilla with this force out that kept Miami from reaching the end zone. Not to mention UNC secondary coverage shut down star receiver Stacy Coley, holding him to 2 receptions for 12 yards. Coming into the game, Coley had racked up 6 touchdowns on the season, averaging about 58 receiving yards per game. That pass coverage like this from freshman defensive back Miles Dorn forced but Dorn said, nope, you can't do that either. And after this standout performance, we might be seeing a bit more of him this season. An explosive energy like Dorn's radiated through the Heels, who shut down Miami quarterback Brad Kaya. But apparently Mikey Bart's 1 sack wasn't enough for teammate Malik Carney. He said, I'll take your sack and raise you a fumble. This game-changing turnover took away Miami's last opportunity to tie it up, and the Heels came home victorious. So the Heels defense was the strongest we've seen all season long, and to top that off, we saw record-book performances from receivers Bug Howard and Ryan Switzer. Senior wide receiver Bug Howard had a career-high 10 receptions for 156 receiving yards. This was Howard's second career 100-yard receiving game, his previous high at 114 yards. And to top it off, after this completion to Switzer, he knocked off Quinshaw Davis and became Carolina's all-time leading receiver with 206 career catches. His 9 catches, including this touchdown reception against Miami, show you how much Trubisky relies on Switzer. And for the Heels, it's a good thing they have a handful of reliable, consistent receivers because for the rest of the season, they'll be down 1 man. Matt Collins went up for this gnarly 49-yard lob from Mitch Trubisky and came down right on his shoulder. Come to find out, on this very grab, Hollins broke his collarbone and is out for the rest of his senior season. So this is a huge loss for the Heels. Hollins averaged about 19 receiving yards per catch this season, racking up 252 receiving yards on 13 catches, including 4 touchdowns. But no statistics can match the leadership, teammates, and head coach Larry Fedora said Hollins brings to the team. Starting out his time at Carolina as a walk-on back in 2013, he became a 3-time special teams captain and an important factor in Tar Heel success. He finished his career at Carolina with 81 receptions for 1,667 yards and 20 touchdowns, ranked 3rd all-time at UNC. Not only are the Heels going to be missing Hollins, but linebacker Andre Smith will be out for the first half of Virginia this weekend after being called for targeting against Miami. Regardless, the Heels have made it through the toughest stretch of their season, continuing to grow and improve. They're being productive on defense and playing smart on offense. But speaking of playing smart, the Moorhead Kane Merit Scholarship is one of the most competitive, prestigious awards at UNC. I talked to UNC student Jacob Schmidt, and for him, being a scholar just isn't enough. Jacob Schmidt is a Moorhead Kane Scholar.
Monday through Thursday, I wake up at about 6:30. Go down to the stadium and get breakfast, and then I've got 8 a.m. classes every morning.
That's the normal busy early morning schedule for UNC sophomore in football walk-on before he heads back to Keenan Football Stadium to hit the books and hit the field.
We go to practice for 2.5-ish hours, and then by that time it's 7 or 8 o'clock, so you just go home and start studying, and then go to sleep and do it all over again.
The Moorhead Kane Scholarship Committee evaluated Schmidt those characteristics to Carolina, and he's certainly trying to make a mark.
Varsity football team, I am in Chi Psi, and I was pre-admitted to the business school.
Moorhead Selections Officer Mariah Keller says the Moorhead Committee isn't looking for students just to do certain things or check certain boxes.
Mostly we want them to be having an impact on Carolina in ways that are meaningful and important to them. And we hope that maybe they'll continue to do things that they were interested in, or maybe they'll develop totally new interests, and that's absolutely fine. And I think Jacob is certainly doing that. He's a great example of a student who has really just used the resources available to him.
And the key to juggling numerous extracurriculars, Schmidt says, time management.
I always just have a plan for the day, and I pretty much stick to that plan, just because if I get off, then things can go crazy. But you can make anything work if you put your mind to it.
Playing hard and studying hard, Schmidt says that's how he wants to look back on his time at Carolina. Schmidt hasn't seen the field this season, but he still has 2 more years to live up to the walk-on-you reputation at Keenan Stadium. Peyton?
That's Lindsey Sparrow live in studio. Thanks, Lindsey.
Now, football is an immensely popular sport in the U.S. After all, we've just talked about it for the last 10 minutes. But youth participation is dropping at a harrowing rate. Fred Thompson shows us why the sport might be in danger despite increased safety efforts.
A teacher, a hiker, maybe even a botanist. But one thing Jack will not be, a football player.
I don't think I would let Jack play football.
That's Jack's mother, Lily, who's concerned about the risk of head injuries to her son.
My husband and I have talked a lot about the issues with head injuries and other injuries related to football, about concussions specifically and the long-term effects of concussions.
Is the fear justified? UNC researcher Kevin Guskowitz believes improvements have changed the game for the better.
It is a safer game today than it's ever been. The equipment is better than it's ever been. The game is a different game today than it was 10 or 15 years ago.
According to Cary Chargers Pop Warner coach Kevin Jones, part of the improvement is an emphasis on correct tackling techniques.
The approach has been to tackle with your heads up, to teach kids about not getting excited about big hits and not to overemphasize huge hits, but really just tackling and laying down.
But safer does not equal safe. Studies show that football has the highest rate of concussions of all sports, averaging between 64 and 77 concussions per 100,000 practices or games. That's dangerous to players and the future of the game.
I could see a day where football is banned.
Even if the sport isn't banned, parents are taking notice. From 2010 to 2015, youth football saw nearly a 28% drop in participation. And as long as parents like Nanis are taking precautions, that number could continue to plummet.
I know Jack's going to end up getting stitches, having roughed up knees and that sort of thing, but I also, if there are preventable injuries, I most certainly would think about not allowing him to play.
If enough parents take that stance, the supply of players needed to keep the game going will dry up. In Durham, I'm Brett Thompson reporting.
Now, Nana says she's not opposed to sports as a whole, but her husband Cal would love to coach Jack in baseball.
Even with the football team's success, Carolina fans can now divide their attention between the gridiron and the hardwood. The basketball season officially kicked off on Friday at Late Night with Roy. The women's and men's basketball teams came out to show us their moves, and yes, we mean their dance moves. Theo Pinson made sure to represent for his team, and Joel Berry came around and dropped it down in front of the white team. Guys, they're loving it. And the competition continued with a three-point shooting contest, followed by a relay with some interesting costumes. There's former backup quarterback Candler Coker mixing his two sports into one. And even with some competition between the teams, all the boys made sure to have fun with it for the fans who came out to support them.
Now, Late Night with Roy is always fun, as you just saw there, but it usually doesn't show us all that much about the team. So for more about the upcoming basketball season, we go to John Assetti live at the Dean Dome. John, what can we expect from Roy's boys this year?
Thanks, Caleb. Well, first of all, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Late night is just a scrimmage. Now, despite losing All-Americans Bryce Johnson and Marcus Page this offseason, this Tar Heel team is loaded with veterans with postseason experience. We know what to expect from upperclassmen like Joel Berry and Justin Jackson, but Friday night was our first chance to get a look at some of the newcomers on the team. The freshmen came to play at Late Night on Friday as Tony Bradley opened the scoring with this monster jam. Bradley had the hot hand all night long, scoring at will from all over the court. Not to be outdone, Seventh Woods, well, he played like he was First Woods, knocking down some shots from deep and showing off his range and his skills here as you see him alongside Joel Berry. And last but not least, Brandon Robinson had an oh-so-smooth drive down the lane, finishes that with the finger roll. It's still a little too early to tell, but Roy Williams and Tar Heel fans should expect the freshman to play some meaningful minutes this season. After losing seniors like Marcus Page and Bryce Johnson, it'll be a challenge for this year's squad to replace last year's production. Carolina's perimeter players will need to step up and fill that scoring load, while big men Isaiah Hicks and Kennedy Meeks will need to fill Bryce's shoes in the paint. Returning players accounted for almost 62% of last year's points, meaning juniors Joel Berry and Justin Jackson will need to step up and be even more aggressive on offense. Berry and Jackson each scored a little more than 12 points per game last season, and without Page, they'll have the ball in their hands even more. Neither Meeks nor Hicks averaged double figures last year, meaning one of Carolina's bigs will need to channel his inner Bryce for that inside presence. And finally, here's the projected lineup that fans will see November 11th when the Tar Heels open up the regular season against Tulane. Carolina returns 3 starters from last year's Final Four team, Joel Berry at point guard, Justin Jackson on the wing, and Kennedy Meeks at the 5. That trio will likely be joined by Theo Pinson at guard and Isaiah Hicks at forward. You can also expect to see expanded bench roles for sophomores Kenny Williams and Luke May, with senior point guard Nate Britt providing much-needed ball handling and leadership off the bench. The big challenge of this season is going to be adjusting to the loss of team leaders like Page and Johnson. Caleb?
Well, I know I'm getting excited just talking about basketball season. That's John Assetti live at the Dean Dome. Thanks, John. And coming up, scoring first isn't the most important thing.
We'll show you a Carolina comeback and a wild finish next on Sports Extra.
Anytime these two teams get together, it's likely to be a barn burner. Number 8 men's soccer took on Duke in Durham on Friday. The first half was a snooze fest with neither team registering a shot on goal. But Duke struck first in the second half. Neither team getting a shot there, but in the second half, the corner kick A Duke striker gets ahead on it and gives Duke the momentum, but the Carolina comeback was on. Sophomore Niels Bruning, he's going to get the cross here, puts it in the back of the net to tie things up, and then the junior Zach Wright hits this moonshot to give the Heels a 2-1 win, silencing the Devils of Durham and sending the Heels home as victors.
Anson Dorrance just came off his 800th win, but during the weekend could not get to 801. 20th ranked Notre Dame upended 11th ranked Carolina Friday night 1-0 in South Bend, handing UNC its first loss ever against the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame's goal came in the 56th minute off Jennifer Westendorf free kick. The Heels traveled to Pittsburgh on Thursday.
The third-ranked field hockey team began a 5-game road trip this weekend, battling number 7 Louisville on Saturday. The Tar Heels had their 6-game winning streak snapped by the Cardinals when Carolina started the game with a strong flurry of shots, actually finishing the game with advantage in shots and penalty corners. But the Heels simply couldn't convert. Aaron McCrudden scored the game winner for Louisville. Let's take another look at that. Upper 90, no chance for the goalie. UNC dropped to 3-2 in ACC play. The team got back on track Sunday, however, visiting Miami of Ohio and coming away with a lopsided 6-0 victory. Marissa Creator led the scoring with 2 goals as the Tar Heels improved to 12-3 on the season. And the Tar Heels continue their string of road games with a major ACC matchup at Duke on Saturday.
And the number 8 volleyball team hit the road for a pair of matches this weekend, starting with a tough test at Notre Dame on Friday night. Both teams came into the match undefeated in the ACC, but the Tar Heels came out on top in 5 sets to take control of the conference standings. Senior libero Sheila Doyle posted 40 digs, the second most in a match by any player in Carolina history, and freshman Julia Scholes led the team with 23 kills to go along with 21 digs, both personal bests. The Heels kept that momentum going into Sunday's match against Louisville. Freshman Taylor Borup dominated on offense, leading the Heels with 13 kills and 3 blocks. Senior Sheila Doyle's strong serves, too much for the Cardinals to handle. A solid team effort kept UNC on top, and Carolina took the match in 3 sets, improving to a perfect 8-0 record in the ACC.
And when we return, will the Fall Classic feature Cleveland or Toronto, LA or Chicago?
But here at UNC Chapel Hill, the Diamond Heels had their own World Series.
The Cubbies, they're looking to make history as Major League Baseball is about to determine the World Series participants. UNC already has.
The annual Fall World Series matched the Navy and Blue teams for a 3-game series. The first matchup was a pitcher's duel with no runs and just 1 hit until the 7th inning. Navy took the lead when Taylor Sugg walked a batter with the bases loaded, and then Laney Orr added another with a sac fly as the Navy squad went on to win a scintillating contest 2-0. Game 2 was a more offensive showcase, and the Navy bats could not be stopped. In the bottom of the 7th, and Adam Pate slams this 2-run homer to make it 7-0 Navy. Navy won game number 2, 7-3. Sunday wasn't any different. Navy's offense was red hot once again, scoring 7 runs in the 3rd inning to take a commanding lead over the Blue team. Navy won the game 8-5, ending it with this double play, and Navy takes the series sweep. That does it for competitive action at the Bosch for 2016. Tar Heel Club Baseball has carried on the pride of the Tar Heel name even when watching the varsity team from the sideline. Our Keegan Matheson caught up with the boys to hear their story.
This is what a typical Monday to Thursday looks like for club baseball. Defensive drills, batting practices, and glove work, exactly what the varsity team does. But these boys put in the effort for the love of the game alone.
Best word to describe this year's group, I don't know, it might be the brotherhood this year. In years past, we've been a baseball team, but we haven't been as close off the field. But this year in the fall, we've been doing a lot of team bonding stuff.
Some of these players have tried to walk on to the varsity team.
It's just obviously a tough situation because they've got usually like 40 or more guys that they're recruited, and they have to get down to 35. So when you show up from the club team, the odds are kind of against you. But it's a great experience. It's a lot of fun to be able to even have that opportunity.
These baseball players face the same threat of injury their varsity counterparts do, but without the training staff and rehab facilities the Diamond Heels have access to.
As soon as I felt the tear at the beginning of my sophomore year, I hadn't been the same since then, and so it's always been kind of there in the back of my mind, and still is kind of there. but at this point I've just kind of accepted that I'm never going to be the exact same type of pitcher that I was before, but that's just kind of something that you have to move past.
Bonin Clark and his teammates face those circumstances for only one reason. They're not ready to let go of the game they love. In Chapel Hill, I'm Keegan Matheson reporting.
The team just got back from Maryland, where the guys split 2 games in a series against the Terps.
The men's tennis team took a quick drive east on I-40 to Cary this morning for the quarterfinals of the ITA Carolina Regional Tennis Tournament. 2 UNC doubles pairs were hoping to advance. Chad Hoskins and Arturo Smith took on the Demon Deacons, while Robert Kelly and Josh Peck went up against South Carolina. Unfortunately, both fell short. No Tar Heels made it past the round of 16 in singles. Now, the Lady Heels made a strong run in Malibu this weekend. Senior Haley Carter and freshman Sarah DeVatella dominated their singles matches until Saturday, when Carter, ranked #1 in the nation, fell to Pepperdine's Luisa Stefani. She lost in straight sets in all freshman semifinal match to UCLA's Anna Shibara. Carter and Georgia Tech's Chris Eubanks won the mixed doubles title at the 2016 Oracle ITA Masters.
The varsity teams aren't the only ones aiming to win national competitions. Lex Juarez shows us a group of students trying to climb their way to the top.
The Carolina climbing team has big goals this year, not only to compete in the national competition.
That would be like a huge step for our team. We have never gone before.
But to have members make the U.S. collegiate team. And with 3 climbers who've been nationally ranked, the team could reach both goals.
Carrie and I and Jordan and some of the others on the team are definitely we're really looking forward to nationals this year. We're trying to get stronger so that we can do well at nationals. And yeah, being on the U.S. team, especially in college, would be amazing.
This is the first year the university has recognized climbing as an official club sport, and these athletes want to make a big first impression.
Team members train on this wall here. They say it can prepare them for any climb they may attempt.
All of the training we do can be applied to doing better at indoor competitions or doing better outside on the actual rock.
No matter the skill level or where the members are climbing, their focus stays on being competitive.
My goal is to make finals and nationals, I'd say, but if I could make the U.S. collegiate team, that would be super awesome.
We're training to compete at CCS Nationals in April, so we've got a year to be till the national championships.
Team members plan to make the most of this training season. They're definitely a different kind of rock stars. In Chapel Hill, I'm Lex Juarez reporting.
The team competes against various universities on the East Coast. The toughest competition in the region, the University of Maryland.
The Tar Heel football team is doing well.
Some flag football players are doing good, finding a unique way to pay it forward.
Flag football can get pretty competitive here at UNC. Just about any evening you can see teams going at it on Hooker Fields, trying to get that elusive W.
For some, there's something more important than winning. Abby Presley explains.
Carolina students and Special Olympic athletes are playing together to create UNC's first unified intramural flag football team. Orange County resident Ishan Nashi has played more than 20 sports with Special Olympics. There's a reason he prefers football.
I learned this from my dad. When my dad was my age, he used to play Fagan football because my grandfather taught him. He used to be a football coach for a very long time.
UNC is one of 73 U.S. college campuses that participate in unified sports. Sophomore Megan Valentine says the program encourages people to come together.
Not a lot of people who are on college campuses think about having students who have disabilities or community members who have disabilities interacting with them on a daily basis in a normal way.
The ultimate goal of the team is to promote inclusion and acceptance of people with all kinds of ability in sports.
I think it's really valuable that we have students and athletes coming together of all different ranges of abilities.
Support can be seen from the sidelines and sometimes from your opponent.
The special thing about Special Olympics is to getting new friends, making new people. I love my teammates. They're very nice. They are very polite. They're very sweet. They talk nicely. And I hang out with boys and girls as well.
The team will face off against NC State for the championship in November. But at the end of the day, everyone still goes home a winner. In Chapel Hill, I'm Abby Presley reporting.
It's so amazing that those kids are still able to be given opportunities to do what they love.
Well, you see every year at a UNC basketball game, they bring the Orange County Special Olympics and they get to play a game at halftime in front of thousands of fans. It's just another great opportunity for them to be in front of thousands of fans in the Dean Dome actually playing a game.
Have you ever gone to that before?
I have. It's very cool.
Wow,
it's very
that's
fun.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, that does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
Thanks for watching. Have a great night.